hello out there. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the Smarter Career Moves LinkedIn Live show. And my special guest today is Tina, who is going to an international headhunter, and she's going to share some secrets with us. So, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Hi, Annette, and thank you so much for having me on your LinkedIn Live. It's a real pleasure to talk to you again. And I work as a headhunter in Belgium. I've been in the executive search industry for the past 15 years, and I really like to help job seekers with tips how to make you more employable, how to market yourself, and how to reach to your dream job. So I'm here to answer any questions, and let's start the conversation.
Okay, great. That sounds good. So, hello to Lavinia. Our friend Lavinia is in the audience. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to see you here. Um, I know people are anxious to hear what you say, whether they're listening live or if they are going to be listening on the replay. And I can talk about people. I can tell people all day long my career advice, and I think they should do this and I think they should do that. But when they have the opportunity to hear directly from a recruiter, it makes all the difference because you are really, it's listening to the directly from the horse's mouth. That's the phrase that I'm looking for. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling around there. And hello, Roz, great to see you here as well. So, the first thing that I think we were talking about earlier is tell us a little bit about the whole recruiter section of LinkedIn that, people like me just can't see and how that can help job seekers.
Yes, I think it's a very, very good point. And like you said, it's an international market, and I'm based in Belgium. Lavinia is based in Germany, and working with the Asian market. So I recruit people on global positions, so both in Belgium, but also in the US, in the UK, in different parts of the world. So LinkedIn is the main tool that recruiters use. And then on LinkedIn, there is this section, or the version that I use, it's called LinkedIn Recruiter. So it's something that only recruiters who pay five-figure amount every year to have access to LinkedIn. So please remember that LinkedIn is a database. So recruiters use different keywords to find talent. So one thing that is very helpful for recruiters, and it's something that's secret, meaning that other people who are in your network, they will not be able to see it. So on your profile, there is a section that's only for recruiters. So you can fill it in. So make sure that you're filling in all the fields when you're looking for a job, but also when you're not actively looking. So there is the field if you're actively looking currently, or what is the situation, because you have the field open to work. So sometimes people put open to work, but they are the ones who most commonly don't return the phone calls or emails. So you really have to first put the type of positions that you're looking for. And like I said, it's a database. So choose one from the database that's more the closest to the one that you're looking for, because sometimes the job titles can be in different companies, they use fancy titles that don't mean anything. But really, if you're looking for a marketing manager position or marketing director or marketing VP, you can put it there. And also the locations, meaning if you're looking for jobs only in Europe or only in New York, or you're open to remote positions. So there are so many different options. It doesn't take you long to fill it in, but that's where you can tell your story and communicate directly with recruiters without your whole network seeing what's going on.
So if I'm a job seeker, because I've been in here, I would go to what? I would go to LinkedIn, and then I would go to the job section. And then would I set that up there? Where do I set up my alerts? Is that under job alerts?
The one that I described just now.
Yeah. How do I?
No, on your profile.
Okay.
So it's really one like you have your experience, your about section. There is the section where you can fill it in, that you can communicate with the recruiters. There are examples in my LinkedIn newsletter, print screens, how it looks like, and how recruiters see it with our eyes, because our LinkedIn looks totally different than the normal version. So this you can, it's called Insights from a Headhunter, and it's on my LinkedIn profile, and you can go back and see the previous edition.
Right. That was your first newsletter. It is fabulous. You took a lot of screenshots and everything, so it's really a fabulous it's a great resource for anyone who's looking for a job. I would recommend that they subscribe to your newsletter, and of course follow you on LinkedIn, because you share so many helpful tips. So I just want to give such a shout out to our friend Jillian, who's out there, and Felipe. Hi, we're so happy to have you here with us today. And one thing that I want to ask you, because I've had people ask me this, people are sometimes, if they are employed, they're nervous about posting, to this section to alert recruiters, because they're afraid that, someone from their company, a recruiter from their company, will find out. And my understanding is that LinkedIn has it set up so, like, if I'm looking and you're a recruiter at my company, that you can't see I'm looking. Is that correct? And
it depends which type of recruiter version you're using. There is one that's called Recruiter Lite, and the full one, but I wouldn't be too sure about, because there are headhunters who work together with recruiters in your company. If I see that somebody is turns on the open to new opportunities, I could alert you. So this can happen. So it doesn't mean that you want to leave the company immediately. It just on my LinkedIn, for the option I have put in that I'm open to mentoring opportunities. So if you currently have a job, just put what kind of jobs you're open to, and there you can choose actively looking or applying currently, or there are other ones that just casually browsing, meaning that you're not wanting to leave the company, but just information. So be careful what you put there, because if you haven't told your company that you're actually wanting to leave and you didn't have the conversation, I wouldn't put actively applying at the moment. That would be the alert. But if you have other things listed, that's just normal.
Okay. Well, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I just want to give a shout out. We can see your comments here. So if you have any questions for Tina, please do put them in the chat, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them for you. And when you are on there and you're sourcing candidates, and the people come up in search, what makes you, click on their profile, and what is it on their profile that makes you want to actually, contact them?
Well, like I mentioned, LinkedIn is a database. So I put in different kind of keywords when it comes to educational background, how many years of experience, the location, the geographical location, but also keywords for very specific skills. So like one of the persons who we hired last year came from Asia just because of one keyword. So it's the whole package, meaning I get a list of people and then I that's from the computer, but then I go in and have a look at each and every profile. And that's sometimes people think that it's only computers who do the selection. No, it also goes through a human lens as well to see if you have what it takes, because sometimes keywords can have a totally different context. So you have to find them in the right context and that all the keywords match, not just one of them.
So that brings up something that's really interesting. So, I'm working with a client right now who is working in the US, but works for an international company and has had several overseas assignments, international. And so it would be a good idea for him in his about section to mention those different countries. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you would be picking that up in your keyword search.
It definitely helps, because we often, I work with multinationals, and the cultural awareness where you have had leadership positions, leading a team in Asia and in Europe, that's something that often is required. And if you have proven track record of that, that's already a big plus.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So we do have a question here, and from Donald. We can't see his, we're not seeing his picture here, but how can you reach out to a recruiter at a company you've applied for a position, as they may be sourcing that job? So what's your advice for him?
So how can you reach out to it? I think recruiters are the busiest people in the company. They get so many emails and they are contacted by so many candidates. Maybe if you would go to another person in the organization and start a conversation there. If a recruiter gets a recommendation from somebody inside the company who says, I think this person has all the right skills and would be a match, that already puts you on top of the other resumes. So that could be one way. And also, I think internal applications, they are so valuable. I always interview internal and external candidates, and the internal ones, they are the ones who almost have guaranteed interviews. So you go to the next round. So you don't always have to look outside your own company. So there are different positions in different countries. Be active there as well. But at the same time, don't apply to all positions, because sometimes that gives a warning that you might come through as desperate, because HR sees all your applications. So be careful. Select the ones that you really want to apply for, and do your best in that process.
So you are just reinforcing what people like me tell our clients, that you need, if you have a list of your target companies, you need to try to find someone that you can connect with at that company, a friend, colleague, a friend of a friend.
Yes.
And then you can do that. That can make all the difference.
Yeah, because many companies have incentive programs as well for their employees. So they are interested, and if somebody vouches for you, it speaks so much louder than just your resume to be invited to an interview.
So we have another question. So Varsha, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And so she asks, is it okay to check back with the concerned recruiter on LinkedIn via DM instead of sending a follow-up email? So what do you say about that?
I think I think the follow-up is very important. You have to do it. Because there are so many times when a person gets hired and there is not a good match, or something happens, like a month later they go back to the person who was number two in the process. Whether you do it via email or via LinkedIn, um, I, I like the LinkedIn platform a lot. I spend a lot of time here, and I'm very yeah, passionate about it. But the inbox is really a mess because you get red DMs and others. So sometimes you lose them. So
do you recommend then email is a better way, or or maybe try both?
exactly. Any way you do it, it's a good one. Maybe do something personalized, right? Handwritten one, take a picture of it and send it if you don't have their address, or now with
Cool.
the COVID times that people are not in their offices, but at least do something that you stand out from the crowd, because you need to make yourself memorable so that people want to come and work with you in the future, have coffees with you, connect with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Felipe. He said, so you get a thumbs up from our friend Felipe, who's also a recruiter. So we appreciate that. And I love that you said that, because that's how I actually got my dream job as a writer. They had an ad in the paper, and this is back when they had ads in the paper, so it's a long time ago. But they had an ad in the paper, and I actually responded to it, and I never heard anything from it, and they hired someone, and it turned out that they found out 3 months later she couldn't write a sentence. She had faked all of her writing samples, and it was really, really a bad situation. What happened with me is they put the ad in the paper again, and I didn't realize it was the same company. I applied and I got the job. So I mean, if I had known somebody there, then I might have been not even had to go through that process the first time.
Yes, and it also happens that in a recruitment process, it takes a while for everyone to go through the interviews and the assessment tests, and when you come to the offer stage, before it's signed, it's not guaranteed. So so many small details can go wrong. You can get counter offers, or the other candidate can get counter offers. So don't give up before it's signed. And sometimes it happens, yeah, that even people who have new jobs, when I reach out to them, I see they just recently changed jobs, but I still reach out to them, because it happens that the promises that were made in another company during the recruitment process, they don't come true. So they are still open for new positions, even if they just changed. So you never know. It's all about having this communication and conversations.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, that has happened to me myself, where I was landed in a job. I got a job. I thought it was going to be great, and it was just not so great. And I was, ready to leave. And in fact, I did leave. But and I hear that from clients too. They say, I'm in a job, but I'm not really happy here. And so, you never know. And even as I talk about all the time, the dreamiest dream job is not so dreamy as you think it is. There's always some ups and downs, and maybe the downs are not something that you're, going to want to live with. So one of the things too that you and I have talked about before is the importance of having a headshot on your LinkedIn profile. And I hear people, they say, well, I don't want to have a headshot because they're afraid of some kind of ism, some kind of discrimination. Usually they're thinking age discrimination, but you never know what people might think you're too old, too young, to whatever. But my understanding is that if you are on LinkedIn, that if you have a profile with a headshot, that you get a lot more views. And I'm assuming it's going to influence someone like you to contact them. So, what do you look for though in that headshot?
I think a headshot, seeing a photo, it creates a more trust than just seeing a paper with the name. So you're more approachable. It's easier to contact you, and like you said, it needs to be a headshot that represents you at your work, your professional version. That doesn't mean that you have to look like it's a passport photo. I think if you have a little smile, and also that it's a recent photo. So when we are on having a Zoom interview, that I will recognize you from the picture, because it happens too often that people have pictures that are taken by a professional photographer 10 years ago or even longer, and you don't look like that anymore.
I know, or photoshopped so that it doesn't resemble you. And I've met people like that. I meet them at a conference, and you don't recognize them because they don't look anything like their photo. And I just want to, we have Lavinia has a question, so we're going to go to that. But when I did some recruiting myself, I would see a lot of men, for some reason, had pictures of them in tuxedos, which I never quite understood. But the one that I never will forget is it was a woman, and she had on a bridal gown. I mean, with the veil and everything. And I was so thrown by it. I thought it was just so inappropriate that I didn't even contact her, because it just seemed kind of this weird juxtaposition to see someone on LinkedIn with that wedding photo.
I think it's maybe the mindset that it was taken by a professional, and I looked good on that day, but it doesn't have to be a professional shot. It can be just have a nice neutral background, and somebody who helps you take the photo, and make sure it's just you on the photo. And not on holiday, but really more neutral.
Not with a cocktail in your hand, right?
No.
And I'm glad that you said that, because I have people that say, oh, it needs to be professionally taken. And none of my photos are professionally taken. I mean, they may not be fabulous photos, but they do look like me.
Yeah.
And you can go on to a site like Canva, which I think you can do with the free version, and take a picture with a background like I have, and just remove the background and put a plain background in it. So there's really no excuse for not having a recent photo.
Yeah. And in Europe, in general, outside UK, the resumes come with a picture. So it's even more common that if you're looking for a job, you need to get a picture. It doesn't have to be professional, but at least professionally taken, but at least that it looks like you, and that it looks that you have the clothes on that you would wear when you go to see a client.
Right. Professional for your industry, right? Whatever that is. So, okay. So let's, Lavinia. Hi, Lavinia has this question for you. What is the best thing a fresh graduate can do with their LinkedIn profile to find their first job? Great question.
Oh, that's very, very interesting question from a LinkedIn top voice. I just had a training yesterday with recent graduates in Portugal, and the first thing is that you need to have a LinkedIn profile, because I did the same mistake when I was studying. I thought I need my master's. When the theses are done, then I will start looking for a job, because I'm so busy writing it. But actually, no, you have to do several things at the same time, because a recruitment process can take from 3 to 6 months. So all those, I went to an interview and I got hired the same day, that's very unusual. So you have to start early. And it was the same thing. I said, yes, you have to create an account now, not when you need a job, to build those relationships, to do the networking. And something else that we were discussing yesterday is about the email. I think you, Annette, mentioned about the emails, what you have on your resume. Like young people create just a specific email for a Gmail address with your name, just for the job search.
Right.
Not
right.
anything else. I'm not even going to mention the examples.
I know. People have all these, I know things that are just really inappropriate. So you do want to have your name and or some, variation of your name. I mean, there's so many things that you can do and have that not to, have something that's, even if it's something innocuous, like if it's car guy or something, that's not appropriate for a job search. I mean, unless you're
Exactly.
specifically maybe in the automotive industry, but even then, I think it's better, as you said, to just have a variation on your name. And
any numbers.
yeah,
Skip the numbers.
One other thing I want to mention to you, ask you about too, which I really push people to have, is to personalize their LinkedIn profile. Because when you open your LinkedIn account and you have, your name, and then you have letters and numbers after it, and it looks so unprofessional, and it makes you look also unsavvy. I mean, would you
Yes.
agree? Yeah,
totally. Because when I present candidates to the hiring managers and the internal recruiters, often there is the LinkedIn profile link next to it. And they are not even, so there are the ones who have personalized it, and others who have not done it. So it's a really important one, and you can create the QR code as well. And for young professionals, back to Lavinia's question, I think it's so important that you put in not only the name of the university where you studied, because I see it so often, but also what you studied, the more keywords, because there are some keywords that are so hot that recruiters are jumping on your profile. Even before you graduate, you have offers. So put as much information, because all the internship, all the specific keywords are so important. And I so often see even senior managers in Big Four companies, they just put senior manager, but not in which field. And there are so many different departments.
I know.
And if you're not helping at all, if it's, I don't know, if it's transfer taxes or pricing, there are so many different types. You need to specify it, and so many people haven't done it. So I think that exercise with the job description of your dream jobs, put on the keywords and go from there.
So we have another audience question, but I have a question for you first, because I get asked this by clients that I work with. Do you advise also putting in the words as well as like the acronyms? For example, software as a service instead of so I advise people to write out software as a service and then put the acronym in brackets. So, because you never know how someone's going to search. And I recommend that on resumes as well.
I definitely, and it's the same thing for the job descriptions that companies provide. Some of them can be so full of acronyms, and the same acronym can mean something in the marketing industry or something totally different in logistics. So you don't want to use the jargon from your company or from your industry, because if it's not obvious, or it's obvious to you, but it at least in one place on your resume, you need to write the whole the whole word out. It's very, very important. Yeah.
No, I thank you for confirming that. I will be able to share that with people who question me about it. And they're like, well, why do we need this? Because there are very few, maybe something like CPA or something, but most of them are just not obvious. And as you say, they're different in different industries. So we have another question here, and I'm just going to read this for anyone who's listening. Do recruiters give priority to the experience section rather than the summary section on LinkedIn? I came across this sarcastic post. So the question want to know your views on that. So what, I mean, and I have heard this before, that some recruiters have told me, I don't even look at the about section, I look at the professional experience. And I've had other people say it's kind of like the cover letter thing,
Yeah, I think so few candidates whom I contact have actually filled in their about section. And the about section is not a copy paste from your company talking about you in third person. It's about you, and the purpose is to start conversations with people who land on your LinkedIn profile. So it should always be written in I format, and how you help your current clients, which type of solutions you bring to problems that your clients have. So I focus mostly on experience section, because there aren't many people who fill in their about section. That's just the reality. But if you do, you would stand out, and it would also reflect your personality and really have this first impression. So make it worthwhile reading.
No, I agree with you. My philosophy is to use everything that you have on LinkedIn. I was talking to Brenda Meller recently, and we're talking about the headline, and she said, she's an opportunistic marketer, so she uses all the characters available in the headline. And I see so often people they leave their job in their headline. They don't have the about section. Or you had mentioned to me that people don't have cover stories, but what should they take advantage of that? I mean, I tell them that, but what would you tell them?
I think especially the recommendations. So if you don't have much work experience, then go back to your teachers or internship, get experience or the recommendations. But it's not only a one-way street. You can give recommendations to other people as well who were working with you in the team. It's almost like the STAR methodology about the situation, the task, the action, the results, what you did together with that person. That's already a recommendation for you, and it says so a lot about you as a person, what you value. So take that opportunity and give recommendations to others.
I'm so glad that you brought up the STAR, and that situation, task, action, and results. And you have mentioned to me, because we chat often, that's what you want to hear when you're a recruiter. And if you're asking me whatever, about something,
tell me about yourself.
Tell me about something. You want to hear me respond using that acronym or formula, which I think certainly makes it easier. So how would somebody use that to respond to you to a question?
So if you get a question, and that's like the hiring managers, they are busy people, and they just want to fill the position as soon as possible. They don't enjoy interviewing 5 or 15 people. They would just like to go back to their usual tasks. So make it in 2 minutes. Really be concise and ask the question, because if you can't even ask or answer the question, imagine working with you in the future. They want somebody who understands the questions and answers it. They don't want you to read your whole resume as the answer of a question. So really be sharp. with your answers. And most of the questions you can rehearse at home. You have situations like about teamwork, about risk taking, all of those. Have an example from what you have done and prepare them, write them down, because those questions will come.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and you mentioned teamwork. So, you know, I was thinking if I was going to talk about that, you know, to an employer, and I, you know, this is something that I want to emphasize, that I might say something like, you know, the team was having problems because nobody was taking the lead. So I stepped in and I managed to, you know, get everybody on the same page. And as a result, we were able to deliver the project sort of ahead of time. And that would be sort of the star, right?
Yes, and also putting in numbers,
Yes.
if you have that, how many people were in the team, what specific actions did you take? The whole, I think they want to see the process, how you're thinking strategically, and the results, if you can put those in numbers as well, when it comes to cost saving or whatever, that it's not only words, fluffy, but
Yeah.
it has context
Yeah.
that we can understand. Yeah.
Absolutely. I tell people that, you know, dramatically reduced costs means nothing. Right? I mean, it means nothing. Or, you know, ran, you know, successful campaign. That doesn't mean anything either. You really need the numbers. And, you know, I see basically two types of resumes if I'm talking to like a potential client. And one of them is someone who's in sales, and people in sales, they have a lot of numbers, beat the quota, you know, generated X number of dollars, but they don't have any story. And
Yeah.
and then there's the people in more operational type positions, and they have, you know, you know, I did this, blah, blah, blah. They don't have the numbers. So I think that's what you're saying. You need both.
Yeah, and just to have a context about the turnover, there are companies that I know by heart, but since I work globally, they're like the global headquarters. I know the turnover, but in that specific city or country, I don't know it by heart. So you need to give me numbers, how many employees they have, what is the turnover, so that you get the context, and the team that you were leading. How many full-time people were there? How many freelancers were you working with? All of that makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm so glad, you know, that we're talking about this, because a lot of times people think that people know, you know, somebody's going to know. But, you know, unless you're working for, I don't know, Nike or something, people don't know. I mean, if it's even a mid-sized firm, or you might, I find working with clients who, you know, they might work at a firm that has offices in different parts of the world, but it's just not a name brand, so people don't know it.
Yeah, I think if you want to have an international career, look for the big names, because if you come from a different country, and I see that you worked in a company that's one of the Fortune 500 companies, it is a quality stamp. So it's easier to look for jobs in different countries as well.
Yeah. You know, one of the things also that you mentioned to me is the idea that people need to come across well on video. And I know there's so many people, I'm sure you hear it as well. You know, they don't even want to practice video because they don't like, you know, they don't like how they look or how they sound, or, you know, whatever. But what I read is video interviews are here to stay.
Exactly. And I think there is specifically interesting and important for at least the first interviews, because if you currently, I work with people, the candidates already have full-time jobs. So when they need to go to an interview, they need to take holidays for at least half a day to drive to the new organization. But if you can do it online, it saves time, and and it's easier to schedule. So I think it's really here to stay, and you need to learn how to be comfortable. It's good when you are on Zoom calls as well, with your team, that you look into the camera and not on the screen like I'm looking now, and you keep the eye contact, and that you have the light, and I often recommend, don't have a virtual background, have a normal background, just clean it up, and if you want to insert something powerful, it's have a bookcase behind you, because most recruiters have academic backgrounds, and when they see a bookcase, it's the bias giving you skills that you might not even have, but think that that you're more intelligent. You can look it up on Google, the bookcase bias. So that's a good tip when you need to go to a job interview, virtual interview.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I use virtual backgrounds forever. I mean, I just always had a virtual background. And it was Lavinia who I was talking to, and she shared an article, something like what you're talking about, where it said that, if you're having that virtual background, it can be sort of a lack of trust.
Yes.
And people are not seeing you. And so I actually stopped using the virtual backgrounds, and, I'm now using my, my office background, and I even have my bookcase in the corner, and, but it, the thing is, it's so true. You have to, present your best self. You have to stand out in a good way.
Yes, and often when virtual interviews, it's also new research that you can't assess the person's interest or motivation in just one virtual interview. You can do that in a face-to-face interview, but because you can't use, or you don't use your body as much, you don't use the cues that you have to verbally say, yes, I'm very interested, especially if you already have a job, that they doubt, is she motivated to come to our company? So when I'm talking with my hands in a virtual background, it would just get lost. And you would just focus on that hand that disappeared, and you wouldn't listen anymore to the content. So
yeah, it's all those little things, but when you hear it, you go, of course. But if nobody says it to you, right? If nobody says it to you, then you don't think that. So we are just about to the end here. So I'm so grateful that you joined me today. It's always such a treat to chat with you. And I know you have some things coming up. One of them is the Dream Job Boot Camp. So let people know if you're open to be connecting with them on LinkedIn, and tell us a little bit about what you've got coming up.
So I have a open LinkedIn messages, so you can send me messages even if we are not connected, but I'm very happy to connect with you. If you have listened to this live, just mention in the personalized connection request that's how you came across my profile, and also follow Annette if you're already not following. So what I do, I help women over 40 to come to find their dream job. If you feel that you're stuck in your current position, and if you're not valued, so how to go forward, just to boost your self-confidence, because when you are going on a job hunt, you need to have your confidence on the top, because it's one of the things when you start doubting yourself, it's difficult, and doing a strategy how to go forward, preparing for the interviews and practicing virtual interviews. So those are the things that I help people with.
I do love that you said that. I mean, we all have that little voice in our head, And my little voice never says, Annette, you are rocking it. It always says something like, you know what, you're not doing so good. What's the matter with you? Why did you say that? It's never positive, for us. It's just, it's really unfortunate that that's the way it is. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy, and I hope you will come back again. It's always just really a treat. So thank you everyone who's been here today and who is watching on the replay. We so appreciate you spending your time with us. So thank you very much.